Dino documentaries. Welcome, guys, once again to the channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where you rank, you guessed it, dinosaurs, and we are back. So sorry for taking a week off. It wasn't planned. Yeah, got a little bit busy with work, but life stuff happens as well. But we're back. Not leaving the channel. Don't worry, guys. But yes, so today we're gonna have quite the big video. So I decided, you know what, you guys deserve a pretty long video, and today's is gonna be pretty long, like compared to the other ones that I have on the channel. We're gonna be looking at dinosaur documentaries. Well, not only dinosaur ones, because as you know, I tend to break this rule about talking about only dinosaurs. So today, prehistoric documentaries in general. That's going to be the tier list today. We have quite a bit of them. Not all, again. I don't put every single one, so I leave the door open for new documentaries or some obscure ones. But these are like I believe the main ones that we're going to be discussing today. So without further ado, we're going to be starting with Walking with Dinosaurs. So what better way to start this tier list than with the absolute GOAT of dino documentaries, the original one, Walking with Dinosaurs. So, I mean, what else? What else can I add to the absolute legend that is the Walking with series? It started with Walking with Dinosaurs right here, a pioneer basically of documentary styled prehistoric tales, so to speak. And the way that it does it is that we follow a certain group of animals or a single animal throughout time in different eras of and different periods of the Mesozoic. Sorry, and this was again the first of its kind. Pretty insane. Everything comes together so well in this show. It's absolutely insane. Starting with honestly, the soundtrack for this show is absolutely magnificent. It is, it's heavens. It is heaven's music that was put into earth, and God decided that what it's gonna be for you dinosaur enthusiasts. You're gonna enjoy this masterpiece. Absolutely beautiful. From the, I mean the animation, yes, it's 90s animation, but we gotta remember this was a TV show. Like this aired on TV. This was not a movie. This was not Jurassic Park levels of budget. This was for your regular TV schedule, and it was honestly pretty impressive. I have to say, some shots, yes, bearing in mind that it's from the 90s, they actually still hold up pretty well. What does hold up pretty well though are the animatronics. Those ones, again, a lot of shows today don't use that. Don't use those. I don't know why. It's like it's a cheap way. Well, not a cheap way, no, because it's very expensive. But it's a free way to give you a sense of that the animals or whatever you're showing, it's actually there, interacting with the environment. It's honestly pretty freaking impressive that they pulled it off to this extent. It's so good. They even have underwater scenes with puppets. That's pretty crazy to me. Starting with the Triassic, going all the way from the Jurassic to the Cretaceous, it shows us a wide variety, of again different dinosaurs throughout the ages. I would like to say though that even though I like to paint everything in Walking with Dinosaurs to be pink, everything is perfect, every flower is beautiful. There are definitely some nitpicks that you can have about the show. However, most of those things I would say are down to the inaccuracies of the time, or the misinformation that we had at the moment. And yes, there are some other things that were not necessarily not known, but they made their best guesses sometimes. And I'm looking at you, Leo Pleurodon. But again, this is all based on some sort of scientific, paper or ongoing investigation. So I respect them for all their decisions they made at the time, even though some of them may not have been so sound of mind. So again, welcome to Dinosaurs. absolute peak of dino documentaries. What else can I say about it? It is gonna be, if you know me, and I think you're gonna agree, Walking with Dinosaurs is gonna be uncontested S tier. I mean, putting in anything below that is honestly a crime. Jurassic Fight Club. Moving along the dinosaur documentary train. We're gonna jump up a little bit in time, and we're not only gonna jump in time, we're also gonna jump a little bit in, well, not a little bit, in quality. Now, we go from one side of the spectrum, which is, respectfully talking about dinosaurs and showing them in their natural environment, living as animals, actual animals. And we go to the other side into, absolute, Hollywood bloodshed. Jurassic Fight Club is quite an interesting show. So, there's two ways I can honestly see the show. One is, a little me, which, watched the show when it was like, I don't know, 10 or 11. And he was pretty freaking excited when he saw freaking Jurassic Fight Club on the History Channel. It was pretty freaking awesome. He saw dinosaurs, they were fighting each other, they looked cool. Then there's, the critical thinking me from nowadays that sees this show as an absolute blasphemy against paleontology. Again, I don't want to bash any paleontologists who actually worked on the show, because I do believe that some of them did want to portray animals as accurately as they could. But, again, higher ups is mostly the problems with this shows. People that want to make them, spectacle, so they think they would sell better, or they would sell more, or more people would watch it, which, I can definitely see that. But when you're targeting a paleontology-focused audience, I don't think this is the way to go, my boy. Maybe for kids, but, for actual people who are interested in the subject of paleontology, I don't think this is the way to go. So Jurassic Fight commits, the sin of not caring about the animals shown. Again, they are portrayed as mindless killers, and thirsting for blood and nothing else. They do not have any semblance of safety for their own, and so they would actually kill themselves so they could absolutely murk another dinosaur or creature in their vicinity. It is pretty. Seeing it as a grown up, it is pretty freaking hilarious how some of these animals actually behave in the show. But you can and honestly watch the show as a guilty pleasure, which is definitely what it is. When I watch it today, I watch it as a guilty pleasure because I can definitely find the entertaining value of it. However, we are not ranking this based on how funny they are, but in the actual quality of it. So good things I can say about the show. Actually, the actual CGI and animations of the dinosaurs are pretty good. The Tyrannosaurus Rex I actually think is a really good model. I like anything Hadrosaur, like the Tenontosaurus, the Edmontosaurus looks good. Other Tyrannosaurs like the Albertosaurus is a standout too. But then you're like, okay, so the actual models are good. Wouldn't that be a great plus? Well, they actually dropped the ball in other actual models, like the aberrant looking Pachyrhinosaurus with a horn, which is absolutely disgusting to look at. Like, oh my god, I don't know how you could mess up Pachyrhinosaurus so bad. But yes, so Jurassic Fight Club, again, an actual abomination against paleontology. It is the black sheep of the dino documentaries, so I think you all know where this is gonna go. I'm not gonna, beat around the bush too much, but it is still a fun show to watch if you're trying to, get a laugh. So Jurassic Fight Club is gonna go in its own tier called Jurassic Fight Club: When Dinosaurs Roamed America. So we're gonna be moving on, and we're actually gonna be doing a bit of a jump in quality now. So when I was a child, once again, and I watched Walking with Dinosaurs, I was, thrilled by this, shows about, these prehistoric creatures that, absolutely befuddled my imagination. I was absolutely starstruck with dinosaurs. So I was, on the internet trying to look for, any other, show that would, enlightened me more about dinosaurs. And I came across When Dinosaurs Roamed America. Now, is Dinosaurs Roamed America better than Walking with Dinosaurs? No. Is Dinosaurs Roamed America as good as Walking with Dinosaurs? No. So is Dinosaurs Roamed America a bad show? Absolutely not. I think this show is actually quite underrated. Not a lot of people talk about it, or at least back in the day. Now I think there's been a little bit of a resurgence with this show, honestly. And I'm pretty happy about it because, first of all, me as a kid, I get to learn about a lot of different dinosaurs that I did not see in Walking with Dinosaurs, for example. Like, I don't know, like Dilophosaurus was pretty cool. Ankylosaurus, Centaurus shows up in the show as well. Later, like during the Cretaceous, I think it's mid-Cretaceous, I think we got some dromaeosaur-looking things that are actually supposed to be Susquityrannus too. So that one's pretty funny. And got Nothronicus, Suniceratops, some weird ass dinosaurs. I believe this show is one of the few ones that actually shows that. I can't remember the name of the formation. I talked about it in my North American formations, but exactly where Nothronicus shows up. Again, this show is really good for its time. It did came out again early 2000s. So, it has that, wonky sometimes animation, but for that time, it looks pretty clean to me. Again, I don't know if you can find any, HD enhanced copies of this, but the original show absolutely looks pretty nice. I would say the color palette is a little bit too dull. Like, everything looks so brown sometimes. Like, I don't think there's a single, like green, like very green dinosaur or, like yellow for that instance. So I think that's like, the main downsides of the show. But, the actual science is pretty solid, I would say. And the models are pretty good. I like the narration too. I think it's John Goodman actually that narrates this show. So again, John Goodman is a great of the industry. So we love to hear about him. So again, When Dinosaurs Roamed America, I think it's pretty underrated. It's not the greatest show. Again, it does have its flaws again as well. One of the things that the show tells you that it's when roamed America only, but again, America's the whole continent, and we're only in North America, so gotta get your facts checked, show. And yeah, so being only in America is like we've seen the dinosaurs along a bunch of different times. Now, back then, maybe not, but right now it does feel a little bit, like again, North America, really. So, Dinosaurs Roamed America, I think it is quite underrated. It's not as good. So, I think this is a good B tier show. Planet Dinosaur. So, we're going to be moving on. We're going to be leaping a beat forward in time. And we're going to be looking at Planet Dinosaur. No, not Dinosaur Planet. We're going to be talking about that later. But Planet Dinosaur. This is, I believe, from 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if I'm wrong. But this show, again, I don't know what the consensus is on this documentary, honestly, but from my part, I absolutely love it. This show, when I was a kid, it was gas. Like, guys, you don't know how many times I watched the episodes of Planet Dinosaur. First of all, the Spinosaurus in the show, I know it is not up to date, scientifically speaking, but back then, oh boy. This was the Spinosaurus that everyone was raging about. At least from what I know. Everyone loved the Spinosaurus. It was peak design for the time. And, speaking about the show a little bit more broadly, now that I got, Spinosaur glazing out of the way, is actually pretty, really, really, really good. It does one thing that a lot of shows, a lot of documentaries fail to do, correctly. And it is interrupting dinosaur segments. Now, the way this show does it is that it shows you, diagrams and stuff, images, and it actually looks, it's not interactive, but it does feel like you're like they're actually trying to explain to you something by showing you, just saying it to your face. Like, they're trying to give you like a lecture. They're trying to, show you stuff so you can, learn it in a much better way. I don't know. That, at least that's my idea, or that's how I see it. Like, they try to give it to you in a way that, easily digestible, and not, just, a talking face just, speaking to you directly, which, a little bit breaks the immersion. Or at least this way, I don't know, I feel like, it's a little bit, again, better integrated into a show. So I think Planet Dinosaur absolutely crushes it in that department. Again, animation, pretty freaking sick. I really like it is they are a little bit stiff, I will say that, in some of the fight scenes and sometimes when they move. But the actual dinosaur models, absolutely peak. I love the Daspletosaurus models. We got Centrosaurus finally show up in a documentary. Like, holy crap, how much do we have to fight to get ceratopsians that are not Triceratops or nowadays Pachyrhinosaurus? So, again, the diversity, pretty cool. This is the other show that shows the formation where Northernacus is from. And it does show, actual Susquityrannus for what it actually is. Pretty funny. And we actually do jump to the Jurassic as well. I love that segment too. We got Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, Camptosaurus show up. We got the Predator X, which is not called Liopleurodon. Thank you. So, yeah, Planet Dinosaur, an absolute gem of a show. Again, I don't know what the consensus is with Planet Dinosaur. And one of the things that I wanted to mention was the narrator, John Hurt, I believe is the name. Absolutely kills it. It's a definitely different kind of a type of narration. Not as, not Kenneth Branagh, which is, very, taking you with he's like jumping with the actual scenes, like, like living it through his narration. But this guy is just, I don't know, a little bit more laid back and, I don't know, like very soothing. Like every time I watch an episode of the show, I'm like, I feel so nice, so warm watching it or listening to him. It is, I don't know, it's a different type of experience, definitely. Like, again, different, not worse, which is what I like when I want to see, different these dinosaur documentaries. Maybe not do the same thing because, it can get repetitive, but if you, change a few things, take things from a different angle, you get a gem of a show, which is this. Again, there are some, some outdated stuff, but, that is to be expected with this. So I don't think it's at the level of Walking with Dinosaurs, again, but I do believe it's above When Dinosaurs Roamed America. So it's going to be an absolute A tier. Walking with Beasts. Now we're going to be moving on, and this right here is the reason why this tier list is not called Dino Documentaries, like I was saying at the beginning, but actual Paleodocumentaries, since Walking with Beasts, again, is not about the Mesozoic, but instead of the Cenozoic era. Now, everything good about Walking with Dinosaurs basically gets brought up to 11 in Walking with Beasts. Like, everything you liked about if you liked Walking with Dinosaurs, if you have not seen Walking with Beasts, I mean, you're probably the 1% that does that, but this show is absolutely amazing. Again, top-notch, top quality, peak. It is basically Walking with Dinosaurs on steroids. The music, absolutely insane. It is so good, atmospheric, makes you feel things you don't know a paleo documentary can make you feel. The actual stories told are even better, I believe, in Walking with Beasts too. Like, the narratives throughout the episodes, absolute peak cinema. Again, narration, beautiful, makes you feel like you're actually watching real animals. Like, the actual show actually treats its animals with respect and, acting like, living, breathing things. And again, the animations, the actual CGI, yes, it is dated, but if you look past the fact that this was done in, the early 2000s, is absolutely gorgeous. And as well with Walking with Dinosaurs, the puppet, the puppet work, it is immaculate. I love how they incorporate it in the shots, so you can actually feel like you could reach and touch this animals, which gives it that authenticity that I love about it, about the Walking with series. The episodes, as I was saying, absolutely amazing. We got We go from the basically the dawn of the well, not the dawn of the mammals, but the dawn of the new era. How the mammals went from little guys still developing to the massive animals to the megafauna, like late into the Pleistocene. So absolutely great to see this journey. I don't know what else I can say about Walking with Beasts. I mean, it is basically, as I was saying from the beginning, Walking with Dinosaurs ramped up. It is absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love the show, and if you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. Come on, what are you waiting? Walking with Beasts is another S tier paleo documentary. Prehistoric planet. So we're gonna be moving on, and we're actually gonna be moving very far and very forward in time, and we're gonna land in the nice year of 2023. Now, that is very recent. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. But yes, so 2023, we are, let me paint you a picture. I think we're in March or April, something like that. And we get a little teaser of a show. And we see some, very feathery little baby animals walking on a beach. And right at the gate, you can tell this was magic in the making. Prehistoric Planet, it is, I believe, the start of what I think is now the Renaissance era of paleo documentaries. Paleo documentaries had an insane start in the late 90s with Walking with Dinosaurs, into the early to mid 2000s, late 2000s were insane. Then we had kind of hit a roadblock, not gonna lie. There were like 10, 12 years where the quality kind of dropped. There were, again, some, outliers like Planet Dinosaur. But I think, people weren't, seeing that much, like actual interest in dinosaurs as before, which I think was actually kind of dumb. But, I believe executives didn't want to, invest in actual worthwhile paleo documentaries because they are expensive to make. If you want to go Walking with Dinosaurs route or even Planet Dinosaur route, there is a lot of money that you have to invest, not only in animations but actual field work, the paleontology work, and getting the actual paleontologist, and getting a lot of these background info that you want to talk about. So the fact that Prehistoric Planet is it's like real, that is even real at this point, is it is pretty impressive, amazing, and we are so lucky and blessed that we can actually enjoy Prehistoric Planet. Like, you guys have no idea how absolutely strange and out of the box idea of planet of Prehistoric Planet is to actual executive producers, because this should not work. Like, this should be all in our dreams, but no, Prehistoric Planet is actually real. It has cutting edge visual effects, which are absolutely insane to this day and age. Like, this show looks better than most movies today. That's how good the show is. And the fact that we can enjoy it, us paleontology enjoyers, is honestly a blessing. It is absolutely a blessing. The fact that we got 2 seasons, it's even better. And the fact that now, this year, yes, we are getting an Ice Age Prehistoric Planet. Like, guys, I cannot be more excited. If you want, if the lead producers of this show want to keep making Prehistoric Planet seasons of whatever time periods they want to do, go ahead and make them. I am gonna watch them. You are gonna watch them. What else can I say about Prehistoric Planet? It is an absolute banger show. The music is beautiful. Again, the actual visual effects are absolutely pretty freaking insane. The narration by Sir David Attenborough, it's always going to be peak. I'm always going to enjoy listening to his voice. Absolutely angelical. And I will actually want to learn everything. I want him to read me a bedtime story for the rest of my life. It's going to go straight into S tier, and it is up there in the upper echelons, in the Hall of Fame with Walking with series. Dinosaur Planet. So once again, we're gonna be going back in time, and Dinosaur Planet is basically, for me at least, it is absolute nostalgia. Pretty little me, you know, 9, 10, 11 years old, was absolutely fascinated by dinosaurs. And I discovered that my uncle was also a dinosaur fan, and he had a bunch of different cassette tapes. Yes, guys, cassette tapes. I am that old. No, I'm just kidding. But he did have cassette tapes of a certain show called Dinosaur Planet. Now, he did have a cassette player back in his house. And when I put this cassette players and I watched this actual documentary, I was honestly awestruck. Again, I was starstruck by the absolute peak that my eyes were observing. Dinosaur Planet is a 4-episode show that follows 4 different main characters, and that it absolutely nails the narrative side of these documentaries. I absolutely love how the show portrays its actual animals as living, breathing things, but also, gives them a little bit of characterization. And sometimes maybe they fall a little bit into the anthropomorphication. It anthropomorphizes. I'm sorry. It's dinosaurs a bit in a specific episode. I'm looking at you, Pod, but I can forgive it for that, because the actual, again, visual effects for the time are absolutely beautiful. The models are great. The music also is quite underrated for the show. I actually pretty love it really, really much. It immerses you again in the feeling of the main characters. I absolutely love it. Again, four different episodes. We got the Velociraptor, we got White Tip's journey. The Velociraptors. This is the actual first proper time that we see actual Velociraptors in motion, in a show, in the screen. Absolute peak. These guys, honestly, I always loved them more than the Jurassic Park Raptors. Yes, I said it, guys. We got the Pods Travel, which is, the little bit of the weirder episode, but it is absolutely amazing because it does take place in Hattek Island. However, I will take points away from that because they do not show Hatzegopteryx. I am so mad. Then we got the Little Daz with the Daspletosaurus episode. Actually has a pretty tragic ending. Pretty insane ending, honestly, for a show about, which is, this is one of the other thing I wanted to say. Not a great thing. It is the narration. Narration is not the best. It's not terrible. But I don't know, kind of the jokes a little bit that they make around the show. Like me as a kid, and barely knowing English as I was, a little lad, I could still feel a little bit of that cringe when he was talking, like the narrator. Nothing against him though. But yes, so basically, I love Dinosaur Planet. It is absolutely amazing. Let me know which is your favorite episode of that show, because I absolutely love it. Mine one, I think it might be White Tip's journey. Honestly, I love that Velociraptor model. It with its some problems, I think it's gonna be the top of A tier. I have to be a little bit harsh with it, because I can't put everything on S tier, so I'll put it in A tier. Dinosaur Revolution. Now, if we're gonna talk about cult classics, I think Dinosaur Revolution absolutely represents that niche, because Dino Revolution is honestly one of the weirdest shows that I've ever watched. Well, not a weirdest show, but Paleodocumentary that I've ever watched. And I think the uniqueness of it is, I think, what makes me love it so much. I don't know about you guys, but it is absolutely bizarre. Like, you would think there is a structure to the show in the first episode, but then in the second one, it absolutely, changes it completely. And then by the third episode, you go back to the first, the first episode's formula. And then you're like, okay, so that was a weird outlier. And then the fourth episode goes back to the second episode. Pretty insane how it was, made. but I can respect the hustle, for trying to do something different. Because if you're gonna do something different, you have to go pretty revolutionary with it. I'm sorry about that. But yes, so this show, aside from being absolutely insanely weird, I have to say the actual visual effects are a little wonky, yes, but they are charming. I will say that. Some of the actual models in the show are absolute peak dinosaur design, like the Allosaurus or the Turbosaurus or the T Rex with the skull face. Cool as hell. This is the rule of cool show, because not only does it do that, but it actually shows us different wild, crazy behaviors about very different across very different animals. Not only dinosaurs, but like mammals and such, pterosaurs too, and marine animals. Like, goes all over the place. Like, this show sometimes doesn't know where it goes or what it's trying to say. But like, it's trying to say that diversity and all that stuff, but it kind of gets lost a little bit in it. But definitely fan favorite episode is definitely episode 2 in the watering hole. That is absolutely insane. I love that we did not go to the Morrison Formation and we went to the Lorena Formation, which I've talked about in my videos before. I absolutely love how it mirrors the Morrison, but in Europe, in a completely different continent. And we have our main character, Broken Jaw, with his, I think you can absolutely tell what characteristic it is with this particular Allosaurus and his actual day-to-day life when a Torvosaurus comes to disturb the peace in this very nice watering hole. So, dinosaur evolution, absolutely batshit insane. Um, this is one that suffers a bit from the talking heads formula. Like, it kind of cuts the action a little bit too much, and in the episodes where there's a lot of different segments, specifically in 1 and 3, I believe that they could have been worked a little bit. Maybe they could have expanded, like cut some of the other shorts or the snippets, and expanded some of the more interesting ones, like the Eoraptor one. I absolutely love that short, or the Anangira one. But still love them. They're still little snippets of different time periods and widely different behaviors. So I absolutely respect the hustle for that, and the actual balls that it took to make a show like this, because this is actually insane. So Dinosaur Revolution, for the daring nature of it, I'm gonna put it in A tier. Walking with Monsters. So we're gonna be looking at the last of the Walking with Trilogy of Life. Now, Walking with Monsters is a bit of the black sheep of the three of these. Why? Well, first of all, because it changes the formula. And it changes it not insanely, but quite a bit. So we have less episodes, only 3 of them. However, the actual segments, which shows, the different periods, the different time periods, are much shorter. Which you might think, speeds up things, so you're not just stuck in one era, or sorry, one period. But I think it loses too much. I think it loses a bit of that, narrative, that actually it's a core part of the actual series. What makes Walking with Dinosaurs and Walking with Beasts such great and amazing shows. And I think this one loses quite a bit of it. Still, I love the animation. The animation, the actual visual effects are pretty freaking cool, insane looking. They look better than ever. Again, puppet work, A Game, the brother A Game 2, soundtrack, again, killer soundtrack. These guys know what they're doing. The main theme of Walking with Monsters is actually pretty freaking sick. So yeah, Walking with Monsters. I still love the show. It's honestly pretty incredible. I will give it though points, a lot of points, because it shows an pretty underrated time period, because Mesozoic gets all the recognition as I think it deserved, because dinosaurs are the coolest animals ever. But, even Cenozoic gets much more love than Paleozoic. And Paleozoic has some of the weirdest freaking animals ever. Ever in the history of our world. Because, there's honestly nothing today like it. Like how can you draw a parallel between a Dimetrodon to, an animal from today? Or I don't know, like an Animalocaris or a Gorgonopsid. I don't know. These guys are pretty freaking insane. So, Walking with Monsters, I will always love it for, showing us, some of that obscure past that we usually don't see represented in these paleo documentaries. And one of the I forgot to mention one of the weird things that the show does is that it shows a transition between, the time period, the time periods, with animals evolving into other animals, which, as a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing. But seeing it now, grown up, like with a critical eye, I'm like, what were they thinking? Honestly, like, where is this going? This is kind of weird. I don't know, but yeah, I think definitely the standouts of the show are Dimetrodon and the Arthropleura. Those two are like the main standouts of the whole show, which is not very long. Again, it is much shorter. So yeah. Also, bonus points for not showing during the Devonian period. They do not show Dunkleosteus, which I am honestly baffled about. Walking with Monsters is definitely gonna go in the A tier. Yes, I think it loses points in contrast with its two cousins, but it's still gonna be a very strong A tier. Prehistoric Park. We come to the end of the tier list. Yes, I know this is a bit of a a longer video, but this is our reward for you guys for, not having videos for a whole week. But we're going to be ending it with Prehistoric Park. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about Prehistoric Park. Me, when I was a kid, particularly, I loved it. But I kind of, had this feeling that, I'm not learning about dinosaurs or like stuff that I really like. I'm just seeing humans interacting with dinosaurs, which, in my mind was like, sacrilege, because what the heck, how is this guy making portals out of nowhere? But, me as an, grown up adult, with, some sense of, whimsical humor, I can actually appreciate the show for its absolute campiness, which is totally on purpose. So I love, first of all, Nigel Marven. He's a goat of the paleontology field. I think we all love him. He is the best. Like, every time he showed up in one of these, like mockumentaries, I think that's what it's called. I absolutely love his personality and his, showmanship and his absolute love for animals. Even if there were not actual animals in there with him, he still showed respect, like they were actually there. Now, Prehistoric Park tells the story of a, I don't know if it's a zookeeper, I forgot, but he tries to go to the past and save animals before they become extinct, so he can, preserve some of them in his, zoo. So, the premise is pretty bonkers, in my opinion. Like, who do you think you are, bro? Trying to break time, and you just found out that you can travel to the past, but if you can look past that, as this as a science fiction show, you can actually find that this is actually pretty well written show. I love the absolute shenanigans that Nigel Marvel, not only Nigel, but his whole crew goes through when bringing animals from the past to the present. Not only we go from Tyrannosaurs to mammoths to ornithomimids to smilodons to friggin' huge bugs from the Carboniferous. I don't know. It goes all over the place. But yeah, this show, it is pretty fun. It is a lot of fun. Again, I can definitely see why it puts some people off who are looking for a much more serious look at prehistoric life, and why this one might not align with the other documentaries in the tier list. But I think it does have a special place in my heart. I think it does for some of you as well. So I think Prehistoric Park 100% definitely deserve its spot. I'm not gonna put it like, in S tier with, the actual shows that, marked in like an era, but I am still gonna put it in, top of B tier. I really like it. It is definitely, it has a different place than all the other ones, but still it is a pretty beloved show. And that is the Paleodocumentary tier list, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I appreciate you guys for, the support on all the videos, and I'm sorry again that I did not post for a week. Didn't give that much of an explanation. I think I did make a post about it, but I think I said I was gonna post on the weekend, and I couldn't, honestly. But yes, stuff happens. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're watching the video. Happy that you are commenting which is your favorite paleo documentary, which ones did I forget, and which ones do you want to see in a second, maybe a second video, part 2 of the paleo documentary tier list. Now, guys, you might be thinking, how can you help the channel? Well, there's 2 things you can do. You can like the video. It helps a lot. Subscribe. It helps even more. And I will see you guys in the next video.